Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Mod Warframe. Today we're going to be taking a look at the akimbo sidearms introduced back in update 9.5, the Twin Gremlins. The Twin Gremlins are akimbo nailguns that can be farmed by beating the dual bosses on Phobos, Vought and Krill. This means the farm for these weapons can be fairly tough, since there are 3 sets of items that can be farmed from these bosses: the Mitre, the Twin Gremlins, and the parts for the Trinity Warframe, which can make the farm for this weapon something of a difficulty. Although that being said, it only requires the blueprint to be required, so the farm could be a lot worse. Now it's fairly cheap to build, with it costing 900 circuits, 1500 salvage and 1200 rubido, but probably the most expensive part of that build is the 5 Neros that it requires. But the question is whether these weapons are worth the farm, and whether these can be weapons worthy of higher level content. Now the Twin Gremlins have a pretty average damage done per shot of 30 damage, with it being split equally between slash, puncture and impact. It also boasts a very good reload speed at 2 seconds, reasonable critical chance at 10%, reasonable status chance also at 10%, and the ability to send enemies flying and pin them to walls. The weapon does however have some drawbacks to it, primarily is the amount of damage that is split between the damage types. The phase Jack of all trades and Master of none really does apply to this weapon. The problem with having damage split equally between the 3 damage types means that although it might be versatile and can deal with a number of situations, the fact that it doesn't specialise in one area means that it's always going to have a limited level that can really realistically deal with, whereas something with a more focused damage profile can go longer against its specific faction. Further to that, the weapon really does have poor accuracy over long range, coupled with the travel time of the rounds from the weapon, meaning this really is a close to medium range weapon, rather than one that can deal with longer range threats. Okay, so let's move on to modding the Twin Gremlins. We're going to start with 3 mods that are going to be the same on all 3 of the builds, which are Hornet Strike for more damage in the V polarity. We've got Lethal Torrent for more multi-shot and for the extra fire rate, and then we've got Barra Diffusion for that extra bit more multi-shot. Now the only thing that's going to be different between the 3 builds are the elemental combos, and for our Grenier build we're going to start with Heated Charge and Convulsion, which brings up that radiation damage against the heavier Grenier units, and we're going to go with Ice Storm for the extra magazine capacity, plus that freeze damage does do a little bit more damage on your heavier Grenier units, so it is actually a very useful mod to have. Now moving on to Corpus, we've got Convulsion and Ice Storm, which brings up magnetic damage plus increases that magazine capacity, and then we're going to go with Pistol Pestilence, which is good against your text and your crewmen because it brings in some toxic damage plus adds a little bit more status onto the weapon. We've got 4 points left over on the weapon, so we're going to go with a pistol ammo mutation just to help out with the ammo consumption of the weapon. Now moving on to the Void build, we've got the same 4 mods at the bottom, but this time we're going to go with Pistol Pestilence and Convulsion for corrosive damage, and then Ice Storm for the magazine capacity, plus the freeze damage is useful against some of those shielded units that you do get in the Void. Again, we've got 4 points left over, so we'll go with that unranked pistol ammo mutation just to help with the ammo consumption of this weapon. Okay, so now on to my recommendation as to whether I feel these weapons are worth the resources, and whether it deserves to have a catalyst put into it. And the answer to that is a surprising yes. When I first tried these weapons, when they first came out, I really didn't like them. I wasn't a fan of the damage output or the lack of accuracy at longer ranges, but that was really more about me using the weapons wrong rather than the weapons themselves being bad. At close to medium range, the Twin Gremlins actually do a pretty decent amount of damage, and although the equal split in damage types means that it's always going to have a limited shelf life in terms of how far it can go against any given faction, the split can actually be very useful in the Void, where you run into a mixture of enemy types, requiring all 3 of the damage types over the course of the run. Once I realised the best way to be using the Twin Gremlins, I realised that although they might not be suitable for the highest level of content, the long run Tower 4 survivals for example, they are more importantly fun to use. Once you get used to the flight speed of the projectiles and are able to effectively apply the damage from this weapon, It is a lot of fun, and let's be honest, pinning to people to the walls throughout the mission never gets old. On the topic of former and whether I feel this deserves former, I feel that it does. A couple of V polarities would free up enough space for a second elemental combo or an ammo mutation mod that this weapon desperately needs in longer runs. More mod space can be achieved by changing out the elementals for the dual stat elemental and status mod, allowing for application of procs on the weapon, taking advantage of its pretty decent status chance. So in essence, don't write this weapon off. It's pretty decent. It's going to take you into tier 3 void missions with no problems whatsoever, and more importantly, it's a fun weapon to use. As always guys, many thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like and to subscribe, and I shall see you in the next episode.